With me today is Dr. Ian Bremmer, author, commentator, founder, and president of the Eurasia Group and host of GZERO World. And I'm going to ask him what he thinks the future of geopolitics might look like in a post COVID world.
I think the thing that we can say most clearly about coronavirus is not that it's changing the world so much as it's accelerating a number of pre-existing trends geopolitically that we've seen. So, for example, we've known about the rise of inequality and backlash against globalization that's been coming for decades now. But a couple of years of coronavirus crisis is the equivalent of a decade of that level of enhanced inequality. So too, we've known that technology companies have been disrupting bricks and mortar in the digital economy, in retail, in data, in telemedicine, you name it. Again, I think you're going to see a decade of that disruption accelerate over the course of a year and a half, 2 years of coronavirus. And perhaps most importantly, the relationship between the United States and China, which has been moving towards a technology Cold War. There has been a level of decoupling which has been going on, but that is going to accelerate so much more broadly on the back of coronavirus. It's not a new global order, but it may be recognized as a new global order for many who have had their eyes closed to a lot of these underlying changes that we've been seeing and experiencing incrementally.
While so much of what we are seeing is an acceleration of existing trends, of existing conditions, have there also been surprises? Are there things that surprised you?
I am surprised that the Americans have been so poor in their response. And the poorness of the response is at almost every level. It's at the federal level and the lack of effective testing and coordination. It's at the state level in the unwillingness to follow CDC guidelines and the huge mistakes made around assisted living facilities, for example, even though we had almost 2 weeks of a jump from the Europeans to get ready and see how they were not responding well and what we needed to do in the United States. We just didn't learn those lessons. But the second surprise is a more positive one. It's that the countries that have gotten this right don't fall into any one category. It's not big or small countries. It's not rich or poor countries, nor is it democratic or authoritarian countries. It's really about countries that have leadership, that are not politicizing the response. They're not cheerleading. They're letting the experts, the scientific experts, the epidemiological experts, the medical experts, the infrastructure experts, really lead the response. And we've seen that. We've seen it in Vietnam. We've seen it in Greece. We've seen it in Germany and South Korea. We've seen it in Taiwan and Singapore. We've seen it in Canada and New Zealand, in Uruguay, even in Argentina, one of the worst hit countries economically, but their coronavirus response was actually pretty good. And what it says is that, a technocratic, no-nonsense response is something that, pretty much any government can do.
As you look at the world that COVID is creating for us, what do you see as the biggest geopolitical risk?
I do think that the reality of a world where the soon-to-be largest economy is comparatively poor, untransparent, authoritarian, and state capitalist, even if we trusted them, even if we had a good and functional relationship with them, which we absolutely do not, would be a much riskier world. And that's true in terms of resilience of political system. It's true in terms of dealing with indebtedness. It's true in terms of social instability. It's true in terms of cyber, quality of governance on climate. It's true in terms of pandemic. Why did this pandemic come out of China? Well, because the Chinese are traveling all over the world. They've got a lot more money. They're much more important economically, but they don't have the level of development and governance that gets you quality health inspections in wet markets. It's great for the world that we're going to have hundreds of millions of Chinese in a middle class who have human capital that can contribute solutions to global challenges. That's an enormous plus. But the fact that governance is moving from the United States to a hybrid model where China has a lot of influence, that's not a positive thing. That's a negative thing. And it's a negative thing not because China's stupid or evil or malicious or malevolent. It's a negative thing because the Chinese have nowhere near the level of governance because they happen to be a middle income authoritarian state capitalist system. It's not about World War III. It's about simply the fact that risks structurally are going to go up, and they're going to go up a lot.